Hey there, YouTube. What's up? It's Fragments of Memory, aka your friendly neighborhood armchair philosopher. I want to talk tonight about milestones, transitions, and of course, turning points, and just the memories we have with those things. For me, one of them was in 1994. Shanice, the woman who was married to the actor Flex Alexander, she also had a song called I Like Your Smile. She also did a song called Turn Down the Lights. And that's the song that was released back in 1994. That had radio airplay on all the R&B and urban radio stations. Anyway, I remember it because my mother, my sister and I, she was running errands. And it was the day before I started high school. So I just turned 14 back in May. And I had a promotion ceremony at my middle school, and now I was transitioning to high school. So I knew that life was going to be very different for me. So every time I hear Shanice's Turn Down the Lights, my mind goes back to that night, that right before school started, where my mother was going to a beautician, and that song was playing on the radio. And I just remember hearing Turn Down the Lights, and that was like the end of my middle school years. I was now going to be a high schooler and a freshman in a new world, so to speak. And so that's sort of a significant time for me. This would happen again in 1998. Now in 98, I graduated from my high school, and again, birthday in May, so I just turned 18, and then I graduated in June. So I was now out of the womb of high school, and I had just started community college at Forest Park Community College here in the STL. So that was a very interesting time. By then, I was in a relationship with my high school sweetheart. And songs such as Alanis Morissette's Uninvited, or what's another song that was very big back then? Janet Jackson's Together Again. That was a big song in 98. Destiny's Child had come together as a group. They had just dropped No, 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 No. I do remember that. So for me, that was like a milestone, because I was transitioning from high school. All my friends were going away to either the military or they were going away to college. So everybody I knew was gone, So that was sort of a bittersweet time. Yay, high school's over and I graduated, but now what? So every time I hear Alanis Morissette's Uninvited, or every time I hear this Swedish pop singer named Robin's song, Do You Really Want Me, Show Respect, or again, Janet Jackson's Together Again, I think of what was popular back in the day, and just the fact that I was transitioning from basically teenage years to adult life. Because when I went to community college, I was surrounded by people that were grown adults that were going back to school, or adults that were, I had other 18-year-olds from high schools, but then there were adults that were, basically adults going back to school, renewing their education. So I met single moms, I met single dads, I met married moms and married dads who were working and going to school. So it was just a different time, it was a different life. And I just remember that transition, that time of, we're going into a new world. For me, because, hey, at that point, I think I had even registered to vote. And I had voted in an election. So, this was kind of what was going on. So now here I am in my 30s, and I'm just thinking back to all the little milestones and transitional periods and things that marked the era. There were things I felt were the end of an era. Then there were things I felt were the beginning of an era. And sometimes the end and the beginning were right up against each other. So it was interesting. It was very, very interesting. So every time I hear a song Like I could tell you every time I hear Mariah Carey's first album, her self-titled album, her eponymous debut album, it was just Mariah Carey. And I remember the songs that were on there, the singles were so popular and they were popping that I remember that was I was 5th grade and we were about to do our promotion exercise. So we had this promotion ceremony where we were promoting from 5th grade into 6th grade, which of course was elementary school. So that was 1991. 1991 also saw, for me, 1991 also saw, it saw, not only was I now this 11-year-old going into 6th grade, I remember Nicktoons had just premiered with Doug, Rugrats, and of course Ren and Stimpy. And I just remember being like that Doug Funny kid. I kept the journal. I was awkward. I was crushing on a girl in school, just like he had Patty Mayonnaise, you know? So those are things I remember. Like that was my transition. I was transitioning from the elementary school 5th grader to the middle school 6th grader. So I was in that tween period. Not yet a little kid, but not yet a teenager either. And I remember that time. So for things like that, that takes, that's just, it warms my heart and it just makes me think about transitions and milestones. What are some of your transitions and milestones? What are some of your, defining moments in life? It could be the loss of a job. And that was one for me back in 2005. I